Hi everyone, Kate here from Faith, Hope and Laundry. Welcome back. Now, if you're someone who finds it difficult to make decisions, decluttering decisions on slightly triggering, sentimental, those items that have a history or a past with us, and they are just a little bit more difficult to make decluttering decisions on, then today might be a useful video for you. I'm going to be doing a general just tidy and organize and declutter of my kitchen, just revisit some of those areas here. And I know there are a couple of slightly triggering for me anyway items that I'm going to have to make some decisions on. I've been on a decluttering, sort of organizing, tidying, just trying to sort out my home journey since the beginning of this year. So I'm 6 months into it now. Have I arrived at my destination? No, I haven't. It's a journey. It's not something that you just arrive at. It's a process and it takes time. And I know some of you have been joining me along in this process and having some of your own successes as well, which is really, really great to hear in your comments. I have still got many areas that need work on, and I'm just going to keep chipping away at that, over the rest of the year. I've still got piles of paper that need to be looked at some point. That's definitely one of my weak points. I've got stuff that needs to be taken up to the second-hand store, and it's always that situation where you start decluttering and just getting stuck into those areas that really need sorting out, and it can almost, well, in the interim, create a more of a clutter issue, because you're dragging stuff out of cupboards and hallways and bedrooms and things like that, and get that space all looking nice and tidy, but you've then got this stuff that you've taken out of that space that has to be sorted. So I'm still in that situation, definitely. So let's get started.
I'm going to start by revisiting my pantry. I actually did a makeover on this earlier in the year. I'll link the video up above here. But these first two shelves have worked pretty well generally. I've got most of my baking and sort of just extra supply stuff in these two shelves here, and some breakfast stuff like oats. My pantry is narrow but deep, so originally I just had to have a good sort of everything that was in here. Obviously decide what I was going to keep versus not keep, and what I was actually using. The snacky stuff just needed to all be decanted into the appropriate boxes and put back in. These next two shelves, really probably long term, I need to swap around. One of them is slightly taller than the other and would be better for the cans that are on like a tiered shelf, but it's still working pretty well with the shelves as they are. I've got some lovely new herb and spice pots as well, which aesthetically look really, really nice. So I'm just having a wipe out of the cupboards and putting everything back in here. And then the star of this cupboard was my Kmart pull-out drawer that I put into this bottom shelf myself. And yeah, that was super easy to put in and meant that I could get into the bottom cupboard a lot easier without having to reach right into the back. Moving on to my next cupboard that I am sorting and organising. This cupboard is not particularly big, like most of the cupboards in my kitchen. The ones that you want to be a bit bigger are not, and the ones that are too narrow or deep are the ones that you wish were slightly different. But I'm just taking everything out here, going through the wine glasses. You can see I'm just holding up some of the items that I'm going to declutter. I've got wine glasses that either don't match, or there was also some plastic camping glasses that just, really are not used anymore, and not a nice glass one, so I'm going to get rid of those. I keep all of my tea and coffee in this cupboard as well, so I'm just going to give that a good sort through and clean the shelves out before making some decisions on the cocktail glasses that are just sitting above here.
Okay, so the first item that I have in my kitchen that is slightly triggering for me, has sentimental value to some degree, are these cocktail glasses. So you can see there's 4 of them. They're very pretty, they're very beautiful to look at, which is why I liked them in the first place. They were given to me over 10 years ago now by a significant past person in my life at the time, and they were a birthday gift. I actually chose them myself. So yeah, it wasn't actually chosen for me as such by this particular person. But as I said, I've had these in my cupboard, sitting in my cupboard, barely being used for probably about 12 years now. So I think the reason why I've held onto them is because I just really do think that they are pretty to look at, especially when I open my cupboard. But they really get used. I think they've probably been used maybe once or twice since I have owned them. They are really a bit too small for good function. You probably can't tell so much in this picture, but if you were having a cocktail in them, you really would need a slightly bigger cocktail glass. So function wise, they're not really that great, but as I said, they do look beautiful. My attachment to them over the years has been more around the fact that I like the look at them more than them having, a really special, meaningful and happy memory attached to them. So my thought around decluttering these now is that firstly, they're not really functional, they've barely been used. The feeling that I get from them is not necessarily of a really joyous, happy memory. So for me now, I just think, well, yes, these are beautiful to look at, but there's so many other beautiful things that I can have in my house that will have function, I will actually use, and will have a different memory attached to it. And at the end of the day, this is just a glass. That's all it is. It is just an item that is sitting clogging up my cupboard. And another person would get more use out of this kind of glass than I ever am going to, and will get more joy out of it now than I am going to for the future. So I'm finally, after all of these years, have decided that I'm going to pass these on and not feel sad about it, not feel guilty, and just let the beauty of them be enjoyed by somebody else.
This is the first of 2 of my corner cupboards, awkward corner cupboards. Gosh, they are such a pain, aren't they? So in my old house, I actually had a brilliant corner cupboard. It had a turny type Lazy Susan, large Lazy Susan apparatus in it, which made it so easy to get anything and see anything in there that you needed. So there definitely is some great storage solutions out there these days for corner cupboards, but obviously they cost a lot of money to install. I actually invested in a couple of these wire metal shelves that you can move around and just place where you want them to. They're brilliant because it just makes the most of the height space in any cupboard. anything that is going to maximize the space in these awkward corner cupboards is perfect in my mind. But really, you just have to make the most of what you've got with these cupboards. Apart from, ripping it all out and putting a new kitchen in, then yeah, we just have to come up with some solutions that are going to work in your kitchen space. So I'm just taking everything out here, having a look at it, deciding, do I need to put these things back in, or can they be decluttered, wiping out the shelves, and then just only putting back in really what I need, and yeah, the least the best here. This drawer, which sits underneath my dishwasher drawer, is where I keep all of my like Tupperware glass containers with snappy lids, lunch boxes, extra drink bottles, anything that is a storage container, really. Like you, I've tried all the different ways, storing them with the lids off and stacking them with the bottoms of the containers together and all the lids together. I've tried buying separate storage solutions for the lids to try and keep everything together. But really, the best way that I have found so far is just to keep the lids on the containers, on the bottoms of the containers, snap them together, and just stack them like that. And then at least which containers haven't got a lid, which ones are mismatched, and that it's just a lot easier to see them and store them that way. Now we're up to the most awkward, annoying, and tricky cupboard in my kitchen, and you're gonna see in a minute the fright that I got when I started to clear out the bottom shelf of this particular cupboard. I really only open it to take out the tray that has got the toaster and bread on it. The rest of the space, as you can see with me literally having to climb into it, is so awkward. It's just not really usable. You can see these tentacles that are poking out, and when I reached right into the back there was a potato creature, a potato monster that has obviously been sprouting there for goodness only knows how long.
So this next thing that I know I'm going to declutter, I have been thinking about it for a while, is this plate here. So a little bit of a backstory on this plate. It was my grandmother's plate. She passed many, many, many years ago, and she didn't actually give me this plate herself, but somehow down through my mum or whoever, I have ended up with it. It would have been part of a set, back in the day. I'm going to declutter it because I don't use it. It hasn't been used for a long time. I've probably used it maybe one or two times if I've just wanted to put something onto a platter, but it's not quite big enough really for like a cheese board or something like that. It's not my aesthetic. It doesn't go with any of my other things that I've got in my kitchen. And in terms of sentimental value, I just don't really feel that attached to it, to be honest. I know it was my grandmother's, but I've got lots of lovely memories of her, and I don't need a plate to necessarily remind me of those. And there will be someone out there who will spot this in a secondhand store and will have the set probably and be like, oh my gosh, it's the platter that goes with my set that I've been looking for a long, long time. And to me, that just means that someone else, again, like the cocktail glasses that I'm going to declutter as well, is going to get a lot more joy and purpose and function out of it than I am going to if I just leave it sitting here in my drawer. So that's going to go up to the secondhand store. One of the things that Marie Kondo talks about in her book of decluttering and how to let sentimental type gifts go is that in the moment of receiving the gift, if you are the person receiving the gift, and the moment when it's exchanged and the person is giving you the gift giver, then the gift has actually served its purpose in that moment. The person who's receiving it has a moment of joy and just gratitude for receiving the gift, and the person who gave that gift has that feeling of happiness and joy as well, that the person smiled and said thank you, and they had thought about that gift at the time. So the gift has served its purpose already in the exchange of the gift. Okay, so that's me done for the day now. It's Friday evening and I've gone through all of my cupboards, and these are the items that I'm going to be decluttering. Not a huge amount, but yeah, I've made some good decisions on them today, I feel. So just, I think probably one ultimate tip to think about when you are decluttering items, trying to make a decision, is keeping this item or these items going to positively propel you into the future, or are they negatively, holding you back to the past, and being a burden by just keeping them in your home? So just keep that in mind when you are decluttering. So I'm going to take these up to the op shop tomorrow and move them on as quick as I can. And in the meanwhile, I will be dealing with my potato beast, my potato creature, and getting rid of that as well. Have a great week, everyone. I'll see you in my next video. Bye.